Welcome to another show. Today, we're going to rank the top 10 Superman movies, just in time for the new David Corenswet movie directed by James Gunn.
Your actions. That's what makes you who you are.
This is the top 10 Superman movies, the Man of Steel's best cinematic adventures. I'm going to count them down, starting, of course, with number 10.
What do you need with money, Mongol? All you've ever cared about is ruling the universe.
At number 10, it's Superman Batman Public Enemies from 2009. Now, we're not going to do too many of the animated movies on this show. Just want to let you know.
I suppose it's useless to tell you to leave.
I wouldn't miss this for anything.
Your funeral.
Already had one.
We're going to have a separate show for animated Superman movies. But for this list, to round out number 10, we're going to include Superman Batman Public Enemies from 2009. This animated feature teams up Superman and Batman against a government led by Lex Luthor. The film is action-packed, witty, and showcases the dynamic between the two iconic heroes. With the voices of fan favorites Kevin Conroy as Batman and Tim Daly as Superman, this animated feature, as with other features, like I said, as with other videos, I'm not going to present too many animated films in this list, as that will be the topic of another list. This one makes the list because of critical acclaim and video sales with overall popularity.
So Wayne, Clark Kent, Daily Planet.
What's your position on the Bat Vigilante in Gotham? He thinks he's above the law.
The Daily Planet criticizing those who think they're above the law is a little hypocritical.
The number 9 film on our list is Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Superman shares the spotlight with Batman and Wonder Woman in this ambitious, visually intense film. Themes of trust, responsibility, and sacrifice shape Cavill's Superman.
Considering every time your hero saves a cat out of a tree, you read a puff piece editorial about an alien who could burn the whole place down.
Despite a low critic score, audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B on an A+ to F scale. It earned B- from men, B from women, a B from those under 25, and a B- from those over 25. According to PostTrack, 73% of audiences graded the film very good or excellent, with a 60% giving it a definite recommend. BBC News reported that the film had been widely praised by fans after its first screening in New York.
It's common knowledge that you hate children and animals, Luthor. What are you doing back in Metropolis?
Because I want to be the first to introduce you to the new kid on the block.
The number 8 film on our list is Superman 4: The Quest for Peace from 1987. Superman takes on the threat of nuclear war and faces off against Nuclear Man. Despite its production challenges, it remains notable for its ambitious message of peace.
You'd risk worldwide nuclear war for your own personal financial gain.
Nobody wants war. I just want to keep the threat alive.
Before the failure of Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, Cannon Films considered producing a fifth film with Albert Pyun as director. Cannon's bankruptcy resulted in the film rights being reverted back to Alexander and Ilya Salkind. Under the Salkinds, the sequel was initially titled Superman: The New Movie, but was later called Superman Reborn. The film was intended to revive and continue the franchise after Superman 4. Both Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder were expected to reprise their roles. The villain would have been Brainiac. The story had Superman dying and resurrecting in the shrunken, bottled Krypton city of Kandor. And this script can be found online if you're interested. Now, I want to take a personal note for Superman 4. This film had a great script. You had Superman facing off against a villain that was created from his own DNA. You had Perry White losing the Daily Planet to a competitor. Both great plots and subplots for a Superman movie. And if it had been made instead of Superman 3, it would have soared just as popular as the first two. But those morons at the Cannon Film Company, the Golden Globus people, botched this movie big time. An excellent script in the hands of incompetence.
I can give as good as I get. May I? Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on!
The next film on our list is Superman 3 from 1983. Though more comedic, this film features memorable moments, such as Superman battling his own darker self. Richard Pryor's comic relief and Reeves' dual performance make it a cult favorite.
What's the matter, Kent? Too warm for you, huh?
Both Gene Hackman and Margot Kidder are said to have been angry with this way. The Salkins treated Superman director Richard Donner, with Hackman retaliating by refusing to reprise the role of Lex Luthor. After Margot Kidder publicly criticized the Salkins for their treatment of Donner, the producers reportedly punished Kidder by reducing her role in Superman 3 to a brief appearance. Hackman later denied such claims, slating that he had been busy with other movies and that making Luthor a constant villain would be similar to horror movie sequels where the serial killer keeps coming back. However, Hackman would reprise his role as Lex Luthor in Superman 4, which the Salkins had no involvement in. In the commentary for the 2006 DVD release of Superman 3, Ilya Salkin denied any negative feelings between Margot Kidder and his production team and denied the claim that her part was cut for retaliation. Instead, he said the creative team decided to pursue a different direction for a love interest for Superman, believing the Lois and Clark relationships had been overdone in the first two films, with a choice to give a more prominent role to Lana Lang. The role of Lois was reduced for story reasons. Salkin also denied the reports about Hackman being upset with him, stating that he was unable to return because of other film commitments. Next film on the list, Zack Snyder's Justice League from 2021. The extended director's cut of Justice League features Henry Cavill reprising his role with more focus on Superman's resurrection, heroism, and struggling for hope. Immediately after the theatrical release of Justice League, fans created an online petition to release the Snyder Cut that gained more than 100,000 signatures. The movement, which used the hashtag #ReleaseTheSnyderCut on social media, began before fans had any knowledge that Snyder Cut of a Justice League film actually existed. The movement had gained traction following the theatrical version's mixed reviews, with fans particularly disliking the film, as they assumed Whedon created an inferior film. The circumstances were compared to that of Superman 2. Richard Donner was able to complete his version of this film, which was released in Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, in 2006. Commentators assumed an alternate cut of Justice League was inevitable, as some of Snyder's previous films had been re-released in extended cuts for home media, such as Watchmen and Batman vs. Superman, which critics considered an improvement to the theatrical version.
You're the newspaper man. That's right, I'm Clark Kent from the Metropolis Daily Planet.
No, they had the bodies of moles and great big human heads. They were just horrible.
The next film on our list is Superman and the Molemen, starring George Reeves.
It's men like you that make it difficult for people to understand one another.
You're not going to shoot those little creatures.
Save your time and ammunition, Benson.
Black and white film, which later aired as 2 episodes of the Adventures of Superman TV series called The Unknown People. It was the first theatrical feature film based on the Superman characters, although 2 live-action Superman serials had been shown in 1948 and 1950 with a different cast. It had an original screenplay by Richard Fielding, which is a pseudonym for Robert Maxwell and Whitney Ellsworth, and it was shot in 12 days on a studio backlot. It served as a trial run for the syndicated TV series Adventures of Superman, with George Reeves and Phyllis Coates reprising their film roles as Superman and Lois Lane, respectively. Mild-mannered reporter Clark Kent and Lois Lane are sent to the small town of Silsbee for the inauguration of the world's deepest oil well. Unbeknownst to the drillers, however, the drill shaft has penetrated an underground home of the Molemen, a race of small, furry, though bald-headed beings. The Molemen come up through the shaft at night to explore the surface. These beings are harmless, but they spook the local townspeople, and Superman has to prevent them from harming these benign creatures. A perfect example of not judging people based on appearance alone. As with many of the early episodes of The Adventures of Superman, the film is adult-themed with a good deal of conflict and violence. or the threat thereof, and is played with total seriousness by all the actors. Reeves' Superman, in particular, is all business, displaying none of the humor that the character would develop over time in the TV series. The sympathetic view of the aliens in this film and the unrealizing fear on the part of the citizenry has been compared by author Gary Grossman to the panicked public reaction to the peaceful alien Klaatu in the film The Day the Earth Stood Still, which was released the same year. Both films have been seen retrospectively as a product of and a reaction to the Red Scare of post-World War II. Grossman also cites a later film, perhaps inspired by this one, called The Mole People.
Welcome back. I see you've already met the Munchkin.
Hello. Yeah, well, you've been gone. Fearless reporter Lois Lane is a mommy.
Next film on the list is Superman Returns from 2006. Bryan Singer's tribute to the Donner films starring Brandon Routh as Superman finds the hero returning to Earth after a long absence. The film explores themes of belonging, sacrifice, and legacy.
Are you guys excited about your big flying scene together?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited. Brandon's done this before.
I told her I'm a frequent flyer. There's nothing to worry about.
On May 3rd, 2009, almost 3 years after the debut of Superman Returns, filmmaker Quentin Tarantino declared his appreciation for Bryan Singer's directorial work on Superman Returns, and that he would write a 20-page review about Superman Returns. Empire ranked the movie 496 on its The 500 Greatest Movies of All Time list, stating, "It may have been a slighter return, what some people had hoped for, but Singer's vision of the Man of Steel is an heroic effort. Plenty of spectacle and a lot of heart helped Kal-El soar."
My father believed that if the world found out who I really was, they'd reject me. He was convinced that the world wasn't ready.
Next film on the list is 2013's Man of Steel. Directed by Zack Snyder, this reboot offered a modern and darker take on Superman's origins. Henry Cavill stars as a conflicted Clark Kent, navigating his heritage and responsibilities.
On my world, it means hope.
Well, here it's an S. How about
Man of Steel grossed $291 million in the United States and Canada, and $379.1 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $670.1 million, making it the highest-grossing solo Superman film of all time, and the second highest when adjusted for inflation. It is also the second highest-grossing reboot of all time, behind The Amazing Spider-Man, that is, up until the time of its release. Deadline Hollywood calculated the film's net profit as $42.7 million when factoring together all expenses and revenues, making it the ninth most profitable release of 2013. The film earned $116.6 million on its opening weekend, including $17.5 million from IMAX theaters. Man of Steel earned an additional $120 million from DVD and Blu-ray sales.
Think of it. 3 supervillains. Or 4 if you count him twice.
Next film on the list is Superman 2 from 1980. This continues the story from the first film. Superman 2 pits the Man of Steel against 3 Kryptonian villains, General Zod, Ursa, and Non.
Is there no one on this planet to even challenge me?
Superman!
General, would you care to step outside?
The movie is beloved for its balance of action, romance, and humor. On its opening weekend in the United States and Canada, Superman 2 broke box office records with a first-day gross of $4.3 million. The next day, it grossed $5.5 million, which at the time was the highest single box office day, surpassing the record previously set by Star Wars in 1977 with $4.5 million. It also recorded the highest grossing weekend up to that time with $14.1 million, surpassing the record $11.9 million set by Star Trek The Motion Picture in 1979, and the $13.1 million 4-day weekend set by Superman in its third weekend.
Hey, Jim!
Excuse me.
That's a bad outfit!
And of course, the number one film on our list, did you have any doubt? It's Superman the movie from 1978. Widely regarded as the definitive superhero film, which set the standard for every superhero film to follow, Richard Donner's classic introduced Christopher Reeve as Clark Kent Superman. With its stirring score by John Williams and heartfelt storytelling, It set the gold standard for superhero cinema. Approximately 120 million people saw Superman in the opening theatrical run in 1978. Including re-releases, it went on to gross $134.5 million in the United States and Canada, and $166 million international, totaling $300.5 million worldwide. Superman was the second highest grossing film of 1978 in North America, with Grease being number one. It was also Warner Brothers' most successful film at that time. That was our show for today. What did you think? Are you a fan of the Superman movies? Which Superman movie was your personal favorite? Did we leave off a movie we should have included? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. And until next time, this is Kevin Given, inviting you to subscribe to my channel, click the bell to stay informed, share this video as that will help me grow on YouTube as well. And as always, check out the Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter franchise, which is in the comments section. Until next time, I'm saying, live long and prosper. May the Force be with you, and keep reaching for the stars.